Well, it's time to take a look now at what's grabbing headlines around the world. The leading story in lots of papers this morning is that Russian convoy heading for Ukraine. France Villeneuve here with us as always in studio. Tell us, how is that reactions to that going down?
Well, a lot of papers fear that this could be some sort of a trick, and you can read about that in Libération. They talk about this Trojan horse type disguised invasion of eastern Ukraine. And in its editorial, Libération, so the left-leaning paper here in France, says the international community is right to be suspicious of this convoy and suspicious of Vladimir Putin, the humanist, as they call him. After all, this scenario we're seeing is very familiar. It's quite similar to the annexation of Crimea, according to Libération. Le Monde, another French paper, also doubts Vladimir Putin's sincerity in all this, given what it calls Russia's double speak from the get-go in the Ukrainian crisis. Le Monde is worried that things could really get out of hand. There could be an escalation of violence that could lead to an all-out war. And that's exactly what The Independent fears as well today in their editorial. They say that war between Russia and Ukraine could be imminent. And they talk about NATO's Secretary General, who's admitted that now there's a high probability that the 45,000 Russian troops stationed on the border could invade.
Gosh, yes, some worrying things. Well, only time will tell. But let's go back to Le Monde, Florence, for a minute. They're looking at Vladimir Putin's popularity, which this crisis has indeed affected.
Absolutely. Now, unlike the French president François Hollande, Vladimir Putin is a very popular president in Russia. He's just reached a record approval rating, points out Le Monde. 87%, so that's a 22% increase from January. But though a majority of Russians support Putin, only a quarter of the population is actually in favor of an invasion in Ukraine. Also, this article points out that there are fears within the Kremlin that his approval rating could be affected by the Russian embargo on foreign food products, which could push inflation up. Why? Because this could actually affect poorer Russians who make up a large part of his electorate.
Yeah, one does wonder how these surveys come about with these approval ratings. But moving on, one of the other leading topics, it's our main story here this morning, is Iraq. How are the papers covering that?
That's right. Well, the Wall Street Journal is focusing on the political situation, and on their front page you can read that Iran backs this candidate to lead Iraq. Iran has joined the U.S. and other Western powers to offer the crucial endorsement, according to the Wall Street Journal, of Haider al-Abadi, the Iraqi politician who's been nominated to succeed Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. Now, The Independent, in their other editorial, says the stakes for Abadi could not be any higher. If Iraq is to hope for any security or any peaceful future, it really needs a strong government of national unity. If not, U.S. President Barack Obama may have no option but to put troops on the ground and enter a new war in Iraq.
And indeed, I believe the Wall Street Journal already feels that America is back at war in Iraq.
That's right. That's what it says in its editorial today. It talks about the third Iraq war. It says that, President Obama keeps saying the U.S. is not returning to war in Iraq, but if you look at the facts on the ground, it seems a lot like a war. The U.S. is bombing Iraq. It's sending hundreds of military advisors. And in fact, this editorial argues in favor of a more aggressive military strategy. It says that limited bombing won't defeat Islamist militants. Now, a cartoon in The Independent likens the whole situation to the escalation of the U.S. involvement in Vietnam. And you can see here Obama saying, "Good morning, Vietnam," actually, "Good morning, Iraq."
Gosh, and good morning, Vietnam, of course. Florence, we were talking about it yesterday. It was that famous movie by Robin Williams, who sadly passed away yesterday. And this morning, more news of another Hollywood legend, Lauren Bacall, has died. How are papers reacting to her?
There's a big outpour of emotion in the press today, still about Robin Williams, also about Lauren Bacall. You can see here, this is the obituary in the New York Times. Lots of beautiful photos of her. Lots of people have been taking to social media as well to mourn these actors. Some have been offending people, though, with their tweets and postings, and you can read about it here in Slate, which offers 10 rules of Twitter grieving to avoid upsetting people. First and foremost, making sure the person you're tweeting about is actually dead.
Yeah, one would hope that you would do that first. Gosh, now I'm wondering how many times has that happened? So finally, a word of rugby, Florence, and I hope you're going to mention the Irish women's team.
That's right. They're playing today, as is the French team. It's the semi-finals in the Women's World Cup, which is being hosted here in France. As you can imagine, the French media is focusing on the French team. They've been receiving a wave of unexpected support. A lot of people tuning in to watch. Why is that? Well, people love their style of playing. They are spontaneous, daring. They take a lot of risks, unlike the men's team, according to Le Figaro. Lacroix points out, though, that this French team is an amateur team. They're not professionals, and so they have to juggle day jobs as long as their sporting hobby. You can see here the double lives of the French team. They have a wide range of jobs. It's very interesting, so allez les bleus.
Yeah, and women. We can so multitask. Florence Bruno, thank you indeed for that look at the international papers. Well, staying on to sports, we're going to look now at what's making headlines around in the sporting world this Wednesday.
Real Madrid began their quest for 6 trophies this season with a 2-0 win over Sevilla in the UEFA Super Cup. The European champions took the lead in the first half, with Gareth Bale crossing for Cristiano Ronaldo to score, following a pass from James Rodriguez. Ronaldo added a second soon after the break in Cardiff. Ex-Borussia Dortmund forward Lucas Barrios has joined French Liga club Montpellier on a season-long loan from Spartak Moscow. The Paraguayan signing fills the gap left by Mbaye Niang after the French striker went back to AC Milan at the end of his loan spell with the 2012 champions. Gerardo Martino has been named the new manager of Argentina. Former head coach Alejandro Sabella retired after the World Cup in Brazil, having taken Argentina to the final for the first time in 24 years. Martino left Barcelona in May after the club failed to win a major trophy for the first time since 2008. World number 1 Novak Djokovic reached the second round of the Cincinnati Masters by beating Gilles Simon, but there was a reality check for France's Jo-Wilfried Tsonga. He lost 6-1, 6-4 to Mikhail Yuzhny in the first round, 2 days after winning the Toronto Masters title against Roger Federer. To cycling now, and Czech champion Zdeněk Stybar won the second stage of the Eneco Tour in the Netherlands. 3 riders made the breakaway, Katusha's Pavel Brut helping them into an early 5-minute 15-second lead. But as conditions worsened, the peloton became stretched. Canadian Antoine Duchesne, one of those to fall. Brut was caught with 4.5k to go, but a crash split the peloton, and Stybar took advantage to steal the win and the leader's jersey. To athletics, and Britain's Jo Pavey became the oldest female European champion by holding off Clémence Calvin on the final lap of the 10,000 metres in Zurich. Lila Matu finished strongly to take bronze, making it a 2-3 for France. This is Pavey's first major gold medal at the age of 40. Germany's David Stahl defended his European shot put title in the first round of Tuesday's competition, 21 metres 41 for the double world champion. Spaniard Borja Vivas claimed his first major medal at the age of 30 with silver. Double Olympic champion Tomasz Maciejewski of Poland took bronze. Pascal Martinot Lagarde of France is hoping family ties can help him to victory in the men's 110-metre hurdles. The former world junior champion took silver over 60 metres at the indoors in Poland this year, but he's now left coach Patricia Girard to join the team of his brother Thomas Martinot Lagarde, 7th in the world at Moscow last year. Well, this idea to warm up with my brother came last year during the World Championships in Moscow. I was hurting and I watched his warm-up to see what I was doing wrong. So I decided to make the step and to join him. I know that I have weakness, I have some things I can learn from him. And to train with someone very strong and who is your brother, it pushes you to achieve big things. Wednesday's heat should be a formality for the 22-year-old and his brother Thomas, but they'll keep a close eye on the performance of Russia's defending champion Sergei Shubenkov. The final on Thursday will see if the high-achieving Martinot Lagarde family can take the next big step up.
Well, that's it for the sports news, and it brings us to the end of this edition, but we'll be back with more updates in just a few minutes. Do take care.